Around 23 million years ago, the oceans became home to one of the most powerful predators ever to live. Megalodon, the gigantic prehistoric shark, ruled the seas with enormous size, crushing bite force, and rows of massive, razor-sharp teeth. It hunted whales and other large marine animals across warm oceans, leaving behind fossils that still amaze scientists today. Although this incredible creature disappeared millions of years ago, its story continues to capture the imagination of people around the world. Every fossilized tooth and ancient discovery reveals new clues about how Megalodon lived, hunted, grew to such an astonishing size, and why the greatest shark in Earth's history eventually vanished from the prehistoric seas. The ancient oceans that existed before the rise of the giant shark, known as Megalodon, were very different from the seas that cover Earth today. They were home to many kinds of living things that appeared, changed, and disappeared over an incredibly long period of Earth's history. These oceans witnessed the slow development of life, from very simple organisms into complex animals that filled every part of the sea. Tiny creatures floated near the surface, strange fish swam through the open water, large reptiles hunted in deep waters, and countless animals lived along the sea floor. Every period brought new forms of life while older ones slowly vanished. These changes happened over millions of years through natural processes that shaped the oceans, the climate, and the living world. The Earth itself looked very different during the earliest times when the first oceans formed. After the planet was created, its surface remained extremely hot for a long time. Volcanoes covered much of the young planet and released huge amounts of gases into the air. Water vapor slowly cooled and fell as rain over a very long period. The rain filled low places on the Earth's surface and gradually formed the first oceans. At first, these oceans were very warm and contained many dissolved minerals that came from volcanic rocks and the land around them. The earliest oceans did not contain fish, sharks, whales, or any familiar sea animals. Instead, they contained tiny single-celled organisms that lived in the water. These microscopic forms of life were simple, but they played an important role in changing the planet. Some of them were able to use sunlight to produce food through photosynthesis. As they did this, they released oxygen into the water and later into the atmosphere. This slow process continued over an enormous length of time and gradually increased the amount of oxygen available for other living things. As oxygen became more common, life slowly became more complex. Small groups of cells joined together to form larger organisms. Soft-bodied creatures appeared in the oceans and spread into many different environments. Since these early animals had no hard bones or shells, very few fossils of them survived. Scientists have still discovered some important fossils that show many unusual shapes and body forms. These ancient creatures moved slowly across the seafloor or remained attached to the bottom, while collecting food from the water. The oceans continued changing as continents slowly moved across the surface of the Earth. The movement of enormous rock plates changed the shape of the ocean basins and created new coastlines. Some shallow seas disappeared while others formed in new places. Mountain ranges rose from the ground and volcanic islands appeared above the waves. Rivers carried sand, mud and minerals into the oceans, creating places where many forms of life could grow and spread. One important period in the history of the ancient oceans saw an extraordinary increase in the variety of life. During this time, many major groups of animals appeared over a relatively short span in geological history. Animals developed hard shells, protective coverings, sharp teeth, jointed legs, and many other body features that helped them survive. The fossil record from this period shows an amazing number of different creatures living together in the seas. Among the most successful animals of these early oceans were trilobites. These hard-shelled creatures crawled along the seafloor in huge numbers. They came in many different sizes and shapes. Some were only a few centimeters long, while others grew much larger. Trilobites searched for food in the mud, hunted small animals, or fed on dead organisms. Their hard outer shells protected them from predators, and many species could roll into a tight ball when threatened. Many shellfish also became common in these ancient seas. Brachiopods covered large areas of the sea floor. Early mollusks developed shells that protected their soft bodies. Some had long cone-shaped shells, while others formed coiled shells that later became more common. These animals filtered tiny food particles from the water or hunted smaller creatures. Coral-like animals also spread through warm, shallow seas. They built large rocky structures over many generations. These reefs became homes for countless marine animals. Fish, shellfish, worms, and many other organisms found shelter among the rocky spaces. Reef systems became some of the richest environments in the ancient oceans. One of the most feared hunters, during part of this early history, was a group of animals called radiodonts. Some members of this group had large bodies, sharp grasping limbs, and round mouths filled with hard plates. They swam through the water, searching for prey, and captured smaller animals with quick movements. Although they ruled for a long period, they eventually disappeared as new predators evolved. Jawless fish appeared after many other sea animals had already become established. These early fish lacked the powerful jaws seen in later species. Instead, many had round mouths designed for feeding on small food particles or soft organisms. Some lived near the sea floor while others swam through open water. Many developed protective armor made of hard bone covering their heads and upper bodies. The appearance of jaws marked one of the most important events in the history of marine life. Fish with jaws gained new ways to catch food, defend themselves, and survive in different environments. These early jawed fish eventually spread throughout the oceans and became the ancestors of many later groups, including sharks and bony fish. Among these jawed fish were the placoderms, heavily armored animals that became dominant predators in many ancient seas. Their heads and front bodies were covered with thick bony plates. Some species reached enormous sizes and possessed powerful jaws capable of crushing prey. One of the most famous members of this group was Dunkleosteus, which lived during the late part of the Devonian period. It was one of the largest predators of its time and hunted many different animals. The Devonian period is often called the Age of Fishes because fish became extremely diverse during this time. Countless new species appeared in rivers, lakes, shallow seas, and deep oceans. Sharks also began to develop into more recognizable forms. Although these early sharks looked different from modern species, they already possessed many features that would later make sharks highly successful predators. Ancient sharks had skeletons made mostly of cartilage instead of bone. This lighter material allowed them to swim efficiently through the water. Their bodies were designed for movement, and they developed rows of sharp teeth that could be replaced throughout their lives. Different shark species specialized in different types of food. Some hunted fish while others fed on shellfish or smaller marine animals. Many unusual sharks lived during these ancient times. Some possessed strange spines on their backs. Others had flattened heads or differently shaped fins that reflected their unique ways of life. Some species lived close to the sea floor while others hunted in open water, far from land. Large forests also began covering parts of the land during the Devonian period. Rivers carried leaves, branches and soil into the oceans. These materials affected marine environments by providing nutrients that supported many small organisms. Changes on land often influenced life in the seas through these natural connections. Toward the end of the Devonian period, Earth experienced one of several major extinction events. Many marine species disappeared forever. Reef systems suffered heavy losses, and many groups of armored fish vanished. Scientists believe that several different causes contributed to these extinctions. Changes in climate, falling oxygen levels in some parts of the oceans, volcanic activity, and changes in sea levels may all have played important roles. After this difficult period, life slowly recovered. New species evolved to replace those that had disappeared. Sharks survived the extinction better than many other groups and continued spreading into different marine environments. Their success during this recovery helped establish their long history in the world's oceans. The Carboniferous period brought new developments, both on land and in the seas. Thick forests covered many regions of the Earth, while the oceans supported countless fish, sharks, shellfish, and other marine animals. Crinoids became especially common in shallow waters. These animals, related to modern sea stars, attached themselves to the seafloor and used feather-like arms to capture tiny food particles drifting in the water. Large numbers of ammonoids also lived in the oceans. These relatives of modern squids and octopuses possessed coiled shells divided into many chambers. As they grew, they created larger chambers while sealing off older ones. Gas inside these chambers helped control their position in the water. Many ammonoid species became fast swimmers that hunted smaller animals. During this time, sharks continued evolving into many different forms. Some developed crushing teeth for feeding on shellfish, while others possessed long pointed teeth for catching fish. Each new environment encouraged the development of different body shapes and feeding methods. One unusual shark known from this period had a spiral arrangement of teeth unlike anything seen in living sharks today. This strange feature has fascinated scientists for many years. Fossils show that ancient sharks experimented with many body designs before later forms became more common. The Permian period followed and brought further changes to Earth's oceans. Continents slowly joined together into the massive landmass known as Pangaea. This changed ocean currents, coastlines and climates across the planet. Many shallow seas disappeared as sea levels changed. Marine habitats became different from those that had existed earlier. Despite these changes, many marine animals continued thriving. Brachiopods, ammonoids, sharks, shellfish, corals, and countless smaller organisms filled the oceans. Large predators hunted schools of fish, while scavengers cleaned the seafloor by feeding on dead material. Near the end of the Permian period, the greatest known mass extinction in Earth's history took place. An enormous number of marine species disappeared. Scientists estimate that most marine life became extinct during this event. Many reef builders vanished completely, while numerous fish, shellfish, and other ocean animals failed to survive. Evidence suggests that massive volcanic eruptions released huge amounts of gases into the atmosphere. Global temperatures increased, ocean chemistry changed, oxygen levels fell in many marine regions, and food chains collapsed. These changes created extremely difficult conditions for marine life over a long period. The oceans after this extinction contained far fewer species than before. Many ecological roles became empty because their previous inhabitants had disappeared. This created opportunities for surviving groups to spread into new environments and develop new forms. During the Triassic period, marine life slowly recovered from the devastating extinction. New coral reefs began growing again. Fish populations increased, and sharks continued evolving. Marine reptiles also became important members of ocean ecosystems. These reptiles had originally descended from land animals that returned to the sea over many generations. Among the marine reptiles were ichthyosaurs, animals with streamlined bodies well suited for swimming. They hunted fish and squid-like animals in open water. Some species grew very large and became major predators. Fossils show that they gave birth to live young instead of laying eggs on land. Another group of marine reptiles included nothosaurs, which often lived closer to shore. Their long necks and sharp teeth helped them catch fish in shallow waters. Later, other reptiles known as plesiosaurs developed even longer necks or powerful heads depending on their hunting style. The Triassic oceans also contained many ammonites. These shell-bearing animals became highly successful and spread across nearly every marine environment. Their fossils help scientists identify the ages of ancient rock layers because different species appeared and disappeared over time. The Jurassic period brought warm climates and widespread shallow seas. Marine life flourished once again. Coral reefs expanded, fish became more abundant, and marine reptiles reached impressive sizes. Ichthyosaurs, plesiosaurs, and pliosaurs occupied different hunting roles within the oceans. Pliosaurs developed massive heads and strong jaws filled with large teeth. They hunted other marine reptiles as well as fish and squid. Some became among the largest predators of their time. Their powerful bodies allowed them to chase prey through open water. Plesiosaurs with extremely long necks hunted in different ways. Their smaller heads reached into schools of fish or captured softer prey. Their 4 large flippers allowed efficient swimming across long distances. Marine crocodile relatives also lived during parts of the Jurassic oceans. Some adapted fully to life at sea, developing paddle-like limbs and streamlined bodies. They hunted fish and other marine animals far from shore. Sharks continued evolving throughout this period. Although they were often smaller than the giant marine reptiles dominating the oceans, sharks occupied many different habitats and survived through adaptability. Numerous species specialized in different diets and hunting methods. The Cretaceous period introduced even greater diversity to marine ecosystems. Flowering plants spread across land, affecting river systems and coastal environments. Nutrients flowing into the oceans supported many microscopic organisms that formed the foundation of marine food chains. Tiny plankton multiplied in huge numbers near the ocean surface. These microscopic plants captured sunlight and supported countless small animals. Larger fish fed upon these smaller organisms, while bigger predators hunted the fish. This complex food web supported an enormous variety of marine life. Mosasaurs became some of the most powerful marine reptiles during the later Cretaceous period. These reptiles descended from land-dwelling lizards but evolved into fully aquatic hunters. Their flexible bodies, strong tails, and powerful jaws allowed them to capture fish, ammonites, turtles, birds resting on the water, and even other marine reptiles. Sea turtles also became common in many marine environments. Some reached sizes much larger than living sea turtles. They fed on shellfish, jellyfish, sea plants, or other food depending on the species. Ancient seabirds flew above the oceans searching for fish. Some possessed teeth instead of beaks like modern birds. They nested on islands and coastal cliffs while spending much of their lives above the water. Many different fish groups flourished during the Cretaceous oceans. Fast-swimming species hunted smaller fish in open water. Others searched the seafloor for shellfish and worms. Some developed powerful crushing teeth while others carried long rows of sharp teeth for capturing slippery prey. Sharks also became increasingly diverse. different families appeared with specialized body forms suited for particular habitats. Some hunted near reefs, while others preferred deep water or open seas. Many of the shark groups familiar today began establishing themselves during this long period. The Cretaceous oceans also contained enormous numbers of ammonites. Their beautifully coiled shells appeared in many sizes and shapes. Some species floated near the surface, while others lived deeper in the water. They became one of the most successful marine animal groups before disappearing completely at the end of the Cretaceous period. Sea levels rose and fell many times throughout this period. When sea levels rose, shallow inland seas spread across large parts of continents. These shallow waters created rich habitats supporting fish, sharks, reptiles, shellfish, and countless smaller organisms. When sea levels later fell, many habitats disappeared or changed. The climate during much of the Cretaceous remained warmer than today. Polar regions lacked permanent ice sheets, allowing marine animals to spread widely across the globe. Warm ocean currents connected distant regions, helping many species expand into new areas. Near the end of the Cretaceous period, another major extinction event changed life in the oceans forever. A large asteroid struck the Earth while massive volcanic activity was also taking place. Dust, gases, and smoke entered the atmosphere, reducing sunlight and disrupting global climates. Food production in the oceans declined as microscopic plants struggled to survive. Marine food chains suffered severe losses. Ammonites disappeared completely. Mosasaurs, plesiosaurs, and many other marine reptiles became extinct. Numerous species of plankton, shellfish, and fish also vanished. Sharks experienced losses but survived because several groups adapted successfully to the changing conditions. After the extinction, the Paleogene period began. The oceans entered a new stage in their long history. Without the giant marine reptiles that had ruled for millions of years, different predators began filling the available ecological roles. Sharks expanded into habitats once occupied by reptiles. Bony fish diversified rapidly during this period. New families appeared with body shapes suited for coral reefs, deep oceans, rivers, and coastal waters. Marine mammals had also entered the seas after evolving from land-dwelling ancestors. Early whales began as land mammals that gradually adapted to aquatic life over many generations. Their limbs changed into flippers, their bodies became streamlined, and their nostrils slowly moved toward the tops of their heads. These changes allowed them to spend their entire lives in the oceans. Seals, sea cows, and other marine mammals also appeared during different parts of the Paleogene. Each group adapted to different environments and food sources. Some grazed on underwater plants, while others hunted fish and squid. Coral reefs recovered and expanded once again. Countless colorful fish, shellfish, sea stars, sea urchins, sea cucumbers, and many other animals filled these rich environments. Reef ecosystems supported an extraordinary number of species living together within relatively small areas. Ocean currents continued changing as continents drifted into new positions. The opening and closing of seaways influenced temperatures, rainfall, and the movement of nutrients. These environmental changes shaped the evolution of marine animals over long periods. Microscopic plankton remained essential to ocean life. Tiny algae produced food using sunlight, while microscopic animals fed upon them. Larger creatures depended on these small organisms, either directly or indirectly. Even the largest predators ultimately relied upon the productivity of these tiny forms of life. Deep oceans also supported unique communities. Although sunlight could not reach great depths, animals adapted to darkness and high pressure. Some fed on dead material sinking from above, while others hunted smaller deep-sea animals. Strange fish, worms, crustaceans, and other creatures occupied these dark environments. Hydrothermal vents on the ocean floor created unusual habitats where hot, mineral-rich water emerged from beneath the Earth's crust. Specialized bacteria used chemicals rather than sunlight to produce food. Entire communities of tube worms, clams, shrimp, and other animals depended upon these bacteria for survival. Coastal wetlands formed another important marine habitat. Rivers brought fresh water into the sea, creating environments where many fish reproduced, and young animals found protection from larger predators. Mangrove forests later spread through warm, coastal regions, providing shelter for many marine species. Seagrasses formed underwater fields in shallow coastal waters. Many animals fed among these plants or hid from predators within them. Sea turtles, fish, shellfish, and countless small creatures depended upon these underwater plant communities. Throughout the Paleogene, sharks continued developing into many different forms. Some species became swift hunters of fish. Others specialized in feeding upon rays or shellfish. Several lineages gradually increased in body size as ocean ecosystems recovered from earlier extinctions. The ancestors of later giant sharks already existed during this time. Changes in climate, prey availability, and ocean conditions influenced their evolution. Rich populations of marine mammals provided new food sources for large predators. The Earth's climate experienced periods of warming and cooling throughout the Paleogene. These climate changes affected sea levels, ocean circulation, and marine habitats. Species either adapted, moved into new regions, or disappeared when environmental conditions became unsuitable. Volcanic eruptions occasionally released ash and gases that temporarily influenced ocean conditions. Earthquakes changed coastlines, while underwater volcanic activity created new islands and seamounts. These geological events added new habitats for marine life over time. Sediments slowly settled onto the ocean floor year after year. Mud, sand, shells, and the remains of microscopic organisms built thick layers that eventually hardened into rock. These rocks preserved fossils that allow scientists to study ancient oceans today. Every fossil discovered provides another piece of information about life before Megalodon appeared. Teeth reveal feeding habits. Bones show body shape and movement. Shells indicate ancient environments. Microscopic fossils reveal changes in climate and ocean chemistry. Together, they create a detailed record of countless generations of marine life. Long before giant, predatory sharks dominated later oceans, Earth's seas had already experienced repeated cycles of growth, extinction, recovery, and diversification. Entire groups of animals appeared, spread across the globe, and disappeared while new groups took their place. Ancient oceans never remained unchanged for long because natural forces continued shaping life across immense spans of time. By the time the ancestors of Megalodon began evolving, the oceans had already been home to billions of generations of living organisms. They had supported armored fish, early sharks, giant marine reptiles, ammonites, reef builders, ancient whales, countless fish species, and an enormous variety of microscopic life. These ancient seas carried the long history of Earth's marine life through continuous natural change, providing the environments in which later ocean predators would eventually emerge. Around 60 million years ago, the world was still changing after the Great Extinction event that had ended the age of the non-avian dinosaurs. The oceans were filled with many kinds of fish, reptiles, shellfish, and early mammals that slowly spread into different parts of the seas. During this period, sharks were already important hunters. Their history stretched back much farther than the age of the dinosaurs, and they had already survived many major changes that had affected life on Earth. Their strong bodies, sharp senses, and ability to adapt helped them continue to live through changing climates, changing sea levels, and the rise and fall of many other sea animals. The ancestors of Megalodon belong to a group of sharks that slowly changed over millions of years. These ancient sharks did not suddenly become giant hunters. Their bodies changed little by little as each generation passed on useful traits to the next. Small differences in body shape, tooth size, jaw strength, swimming ability, and hunting skills slowly built up over very long periods. This slow process is known as evolution. Evolution happens when living things pass useful traits to their young, allowing later generations to survive better in their environment. Sharks have one of the oldest histories among living vertebrate animals. Their earliest ancestors appeared more than 400 million years ago. During that distant time, the oceans looked very different from today. Many strange fish with hard body coverings lived in the seas, while the first forests had not yet fully spread across the land. Early sharks were usually much smaller than later species. Their skeletons were made mostly of cartilage instead of bone. Cartilage is lighter and softer than bone, making the body more flexible and helping sharks swim with less effort. Because shark skeletons are made of cartilage, they rarely become fossils. Cartilage breaks down much faster than bone after an animal dies. This means scientists often have only teeth and a few hardened body parts to study. Shark teeth are covered with very hard material that survives much longer. As sharks lose thousands of teeth during their lives, these teeth settle on the sea floor. Over millions of years, many become buried under layers of sand and mud. Pressure slowly changes these buried remains into fossils. Today, fossil shark teeth are found in many parts of the world, giving scientists important clues about ancient sharks. The story of Megalodon comes mainly from these fossil teeth. Thousands of Megalodon teeth have been discovered on every continent except Antarctica. Some have been found along coastlines, inside rivers, in deserts that were once covered by shallow seas and deep beneath the ground. Each discovery adds another small piece to the history of this giant shark. Scientists study the shape, size, thickness, and tiny markings on these teeth to understand how the animal lived and how it changed over time. The exact family tree of Megalodon has been discussed by scientists for many years. Some researchers believe that Megalodon belonged to the same family as the modern great white shark, because both species have large triangular teeth with sharp edges. Other scientists believe that these similarities developed because both sharks hunted large animals in similar ways rather than because they were closely related. This idea is known as convergent evolution, where unrelated animals develop similar features because they live in similar environments and face similar challenges. Many researchers now place Megalodon in a separate family called Ottodontidae. This family included several large sharks that lived before Megalodon appeared. These earlier sharks slowly developed larger bodies, stronger jaws, and wider teeth through many generations. Each later species showed small changes that eventually led to the appearance of Megalodon. One of the earliest known members of this family was Ottodus obliquus. This shark lived during the Paleocene epoch, beginning around 60 million years ago. Its teeth were large but lacked the fully developed serrated edges seen in Megalodon. Serrations are tiny saw-like points along the edge of a tooth. These helped later sharks cut through thick flesh much more easily. Over time, later species such as Ottodus axuaticus and Ottodus auriculatus appeared. Their teeth began showing small serrations that became more noticeable with each new species. Scientists believe these gradual changes happened because the sharks were hunting larger prey that had thicker skin and stronger muscles. Teeth with sharper cutting edges made hunting more successful. As millions of years passed, another species called Otodus angustidens appeared. This shark lived during the Oligocene epoch. Its teeth were larger than those of its earlier relatives, and the serrations had become much clearer. The body also appears to have grown larger. Fossils suggest that these sharks were becoming stronger hunters, capable of catching bigger sea animals. Later came Otodus tubutensis, often viewed as one of the closest relatives of Megalodon. This shark lived during the early part of the Miocene epoch. Its teeth had many features that closely resembled those of Megalodon, although they still retained small differences. Scientists believe this species represents an important stage in the gradual development toward the giant shark that would later dominate the oceans. Eventually, around 23 million years ago, the first true Megalodon appeared. This was not the result of a sudden change, but the outcome of countless generations of small changes that slowly built upon one another. Each generation carried tiny differences, and those differences slowly shaped a shark that became one of the largest predators known from the fossil record. The oceans during the Miocene epoch provided excellent conditions for the growth of such a massive predator. Water temperatures were generally warmer across much of the world. Sea levels were often higher, creating wide coastal areas filled with life. Many different species of whales were evolving during this time. Seals, sea cows, dolphins, and large fish also became more common. This rich supply of food allowed giant predators to survive. As whales evolved into larger animals, predators also faced new opportunities. Large prey could provide enough food for enormous hunters. Sharks that could capture and feed on these animals gained an advantage. Over many generations, natural selection favored individuals with stronger jaws, larger bodies, and more powerful swimming muscles. Natural selection works by allowing individuals with useful traits to survive and produce more young. Those helpful traits become more common over time. In the case of Megalodon, traits such as large size, powerful jaws, thick teeth, excellent swimming ability, and advanced hunting skills likely became more common because they helped the sharks catch prey successfully. Body size increased gradually. A larger shark could travel farther, store more energy, defend itself from other predators, and attack larger prey. Growing larger also reduced the number of animals capable of threatening adult Megalodon. While young sharks still faced dangers, full-grown adults probably had very few natural enemies. The teeth of Megalodon became one of its most remarkable features. Some fossil teeth measure more than 7 inches in length. These teeth were thick, wide, triangular, and lined with strong serrations. Their shape allowed them to slice through skin, muscle, and bone. Unlike the narrow teeth of sharks that mainly catch fish, Megalodon teeth were built for attacking large marine mammals. Like all sharks, Megalodon constantly replaced its teeth. New teeth formed behind older ones inside the jaws. When an older tooth became damaged or fell out, another moved forward into its place. During its lifetime, one Megalodon probably produced many thousands of teeth. This constant replacement helped maintain effective hunting ability even after repeated attacks on large prey. The jaws of Megalodon became much stronger than those of its earlier ancestors. Scientists estimate that its bite force was among the strongest of any known animal. Thick jaw muscles attached to large cartilage structures created enormous pressure during a bite. This strength allowed the shark to break bones and remove large pieces of flesh from whales and other marine mammals. The body shape of Megalodon probably resembled that of many modern mackerel sharks. It likely had a streamlined body, powerful tail, broad head, and large fins that helped it move efficiently through open water. Even though its body was massive, it still needed to swim effectively over great distances while searching for food. The oceans themselves continued changing throughout the Miocene epoch. Ocean currents shifted as continents slowly moved into new positions. New coastlines formed while others disappeared. These changes affected where marine animals lived. Megalodon had to adapt to changing food supplies and different ocean conditions across many regions. Fossil evidence shows that megalodons spread across much of the world. Teeth have been found in places that today belong to North America, South America, Europe, Africa, Asia, and Australia. These discoveries suggest that the shark lived in many warm and temperate seas rather than remaining in one small region. Young Megalodon probably grew up in shallow coastal waters. Scientists have identified several fossil sites where many smaller Megalodon teeth have been found together. These places are thought to have served as nursery areas. Shallow water offered some protection from larger predators, while providing plenty of fish and smaller marine animals for young sharks to eat. As young Megalodon grew larger, their diet likely changed. Smaller individuals probably hunted fish, rays, and small marine mammals. As they became bigger and stronger, they gradually moved toward hunting larger prey. Adult Megalodon eventually became capable of attacking fully grown whales and other large sea mammals. Growth may have taken many years. Scientists studying growth rings preserved inside fossil vertebrae believe that Megalodon grew steadily throughout much of its early life. These growth rings work in a way similar to those found in trees, recording periods of growth over time. By counting these rings, researchers estimate the ages of individual sharks. Reproduction in Megalodon remains difficult to study because soft body tissues rarely become fossils. However, scientists believe it probably gave birth to live young, just as many modern sharks do. The developing young likely grew inside the mother's body until they were ready for birth. This gave newborn sharks a better chance of survival than laying eggs in open water. Some researchers believe unborn Megalodon may have practiced a behavior seen in certain living sharks today. Inside the mother, the strongest developing young may have eaten unfertilized eggs or even smaller developing siblings. This process produces fewer babies, but those born are much larger and stronger at birth. The success of Megalodon depended on healthy ocean ecosystems. Large predators require large amounts of food. Rich populations of whales, dolphins, seals, and other marine mammals provided enough energy to support these giant sharks. Changes affecting these prey animals would also affect the sharks that depended on them. Climate played an important role in Megalodon's history. During much of the Miocene epoch, warm oceans stretched across wide areas of the planet. Warm water supported many kinds of marine life. As climates later cooled, ocean conditions began changing. Some prey species moved into colder regions that may have been less suitable for Megalodon. Competition also influenced evolution. Megalodon shared the oceans with many other predators, including smaller sharks, large-toothed whales, and ancient relatives of modern killer whales. Each predator hunted in its own way. Differences in hunting methods, prey choice, and habitat helped reduce direct competition, although food shortages may still have brought predators into conflict. The rise of Megalodon also reflected broader changes taking place among marine mammals. Whales were becoming more diverse. Some species fed on fish, while others filtered tiny sea animals from the water. Their increasing numbers provided steady food sources for giant predators. Scientists continue studying Megalodon fossils using modern technology. Detailed scans reveal tiny structures inside fossil teeth. Chemical studies examine elements preserved within the teeth to estimate water temperatures and feeding habits. Computer models help researchers estimate body length, swimming speed, bite force, and growth patterns. Every new fossil discovery has the potential to improve understanding of Megalodon's origins. A newly discovered tooth, vertebra, or nursery site may answer questions that have remained uncertain for many years. Because complete skeletons are almost never preserved, every fossil becomes valuable. The history of Megalodon reminds scientists that evolution never stops. Species continue changing whenever environments change. Some species survive by adapting, while others disappear when conditions become too difficult. Megalodon itself existed for millions of years, showing that it was highly successful for a very long period. Around 3,600,000 years ago, Megalodon disappeared from the fossil record. The exact reason remains uncertain. Many scientists believe several factors likely work together. Cooling oceans, falling sea levels, changes in whale migrations, reduced food supplies, and increasing competition from other predators may all have contributed to its disappearance. Although the shark became extinct, its fossils continue telling its story. Every tooth preserved in ancient rock records, part of its long evolutionary journey. These fossils allow scientists to trace the gradual changes that transformed smaller ancestral sharks into one of the largest predators that ever lived in Earth's oceans. Research into Megalodon's origins continues today because many questions remain unanswered. Scientists still debate its exact appearance, maximum size, growth rate, lifespan, and closest living relatives. New discoveries may refine existing ideas or introduce entirely new explanations supported by fossil evidence. The study of Megalodon also helps scientists understand ancient marine ecosystems. By learning where this giant predator lived, what it hunted, and how it evolved, researchers gain a better picture of the oceans during the Miocene and Pliocene epochs. Fossils from prey animals, ocean sediments, and ancient coastlines all contribute to this growing understanding. Megalodon's evolutionary story is part of a much larger history, stretching across hundreds of millions of years of shark evolution. From small, early sharks swimming through ancient seas to giant hunters ruling warm oceans, countless generations experienced gradual changes shaped by natural selection, changing climates, shifting continents, and evolving prey. Each small step helped shape the animal that would eventually become known as Megalodon, leaving behind only scattered fossils that continue to reveal new details about its origins, development, and place in the history of life on Earth. Around 23 million years ago, the oceans of Earth were home to many kinds of large sea animals: fish, whales, seals, sea turtles, and sharks. During this period, a giant shark known as Megalodon appeared and slowly became one of the most powerful hunters in the seas. Scientists believe that Megalodon first lived during the early part of the Miocene epoch. It continued to live through the rest of the Miocene and much of the Pliocene epoch before disappearing around 3,600,000 years ago. This means that Megalodon existed for almost 20 million years. During this long period, it lived in many parts of the world's oceans and became one of the most successful large predators known from the fossil record. The Earth looked different during the time when Megalodon lived. The continents were close to their present positions, but they had not completely reached the places where they are today. The oceans connected many regions, allowing sea animals to travel over great distances. Warm ocean water covered large areas, creating good conditions for many forms of marine life. These warm seas supported rich food supplies, making them suitable homes for large sharks like Megalodon. The climate during the early years of Megalodon's existence was warmer than it is today. Many tropical and warm temperate seas stretched across different parts of the planet. Coral reefs were healthy and supported thousands of kinds of fish and other sea creatures. Large groups of whales moved through the oceans, feeding, giving birth, and traveling between different waters. These whales became one of the main food sources for Megalodon. Fossil discoveries show bite marks on whale bones that match the teeth of this giant shark. These marks help scientists understand how Megalodon hunted and what it ate. Megalodon belonged to a group of sharks that had already been successful for millions of years before it appeared. Earlier shark species had developed strong bodies, sharp teeth and excellent senses that helped them survive. Megalodon inherited many of these useful features while also developing its own special characteristics. It grew much larger than most other sharks and had very large jaws filled with thick, sharp teeth. These teeth were shaped to cut through flesh and break into the bodies of large animals. Because sharks have skeletons made mostly of cartilage instead of hard bone, very few complete Megalodon skeletons have been found. Cartilage breaks down much more easily after an animal dies. The parts that are most often preserved are the teeth because they are made of very hard material. Thousands of Megalodon teeth have been discovered in many countries. These teeth allow scientists to study the shark's size, growth, diet, and the places where it lived. The oceans during the Miocene epoch contained many different animals that shared the water with Megalodon. There were many kinds of whales, including early baleen whales and toothed whales. Some whales were much smaller than the giant species that live today. Seals and sea lions were becoming more common in many coastal areas. Sea cows lived in shallow, warm waters where they fed on seagrass. Large fish, rays, dolphins, sea turtles, and many kinds of sharks also lived in these oceans. This rich variety of animals provided many possible sources of food for Megalodon. Scientists believed that Megalodon preferred warm and mild ocean temperatures. Fossil teeth have been found in places that were once covered by warm seas. These discoveries include areas that are now part of North America, South America, Europe, Africa, Asia, and Australia. Fossils have also been found on islands and along ancient coastlines that no longer exist in the same form today. These findings suggest that Megalodon had a very wide range and could travel across great distances through connected oceans. Young Megalodon sharks probably spent much of their early lives in shallow coastal waters. These areas offered protection from larger predators and contained many smaller animals that young sharks could hunt. Scientists have found places with many small Megalodon teeth close together. These sites are believed to have been nursery areas where young sharks were born and grew during the first years of their lives. The warmer water in these coastal regions would also have helped young sharks grow more quickly. As Megalodon grew older, it moved into deeper waters where larger animals lived. Adult Megalodon sharks had few natural enemies because of their enormous size. They were able to hunt many kinds of large sea animals. Fossil evidence suggests that whales formed an important part of their diet. Some whale fossils contain deep cuts that match the edges of Megalodon teeth. In some cases, broken Megalodon teeth have been found near whale fossils, showing that the shark may have lost teeth while feeding. Sharks replace their teeth throughout their lives. When one tooth falls out, another moves forward to take its place. Megalodon followed this pattern as well. During its lifetime, a single shark may have produced many thousands of teeth. As these teeth fell into the sea, some became buried in mud or sand. Over millions of years, these sediments hardened into rock, preserving the teeth as fossils. This is one reason why Megalodon teeth are found much more often than other body parts. The seas during the Miocene and Pliocene epochs were full of movement. Ocean currents carried nutrients through the water, supporting large numbers of fish and other sea animals. Seasonal changes affected the movement of whales and many other creatures. Megalodon may have followed these movements, traveling to areas where food was most plentiful. Its strong swimming ability would have allowed it to cover great distances in search of prey. Scientists study layers of rock to understand when Megalodon lived. Different layers formed during different periods of Earth's history. When Megalodon teeth are found in a certain rock layer, scientists can estimate the age of the fossils by studying the rocks and the tiny fossils found with them. Modern dating methods have helped researchers place Megalodon's existence between about 23 million years ago and about 3,600,000 years ago. During the time Megalodon ruled the seas, many other marine animals were also changing through evolution. Some whale groups became larger and developed new ways of feeding. Dolphins spread into different environments. Seals became more successful in coastal waters. Fish populations changed as ocean conditions shifted over time. Megalodon lived through many of these changes and continued to survive because it was able to hunt a wide range of large animals. The oceans themselves were changing while Megalodon lived. Some sea passages opened while others slowly closed because of the movement of Earth's tectonic plates. These changes affected ocean currents and water temperatures. New coastlines formed while older ones disappeared beneath rising seas or became dry land as sea levels changed. Megalodon adapted to many of these environmental changes over millions of years. Fossil discoveries show that Megalodon lived near ancient coastlines where many marine animals gathered. Coastal waters often contained rich supplies of food because rivers carried nutrients into the sea. These nutrients supported plants and tiny sea organisms, which in turn supported fish and larger animals. Areas with abundant food attracted whales and other marine mammals, creating good hunting grounds for Megalodon. Researchers have discovered Megalodon fossils in places that were once shallow seas but are now dry land. This happened because Earth's surface changed over millions of years. Land rose in some places while sea levels dropped in others. Ancient seabeds became exposed, allowing scientists to search for fossils that had remained buried for millions of years. Many important Megalodon teeth have been recovered from riverbanks, cliffs, deserts, farms, and construction sites where ancient marine rocks are exposed. The size of Megalodon helped it become one of the leading predators of its time. Studies of its fossil teeth and jaws suggest that it reached enormous lengths. Its bite was powerful enough to crush bones and tear through thick flesh. These features made it well suited for hunting large marine mammals. Scientists continue to study new fossil discoveries to improve their understanding of exactly how large Megalodon became and how it lived in the ancient oceans. The long period during which Megalodon lived allowed it to witness many changes in marine life. Entire groups of animals appeared, spread into new regions, and sometimes disappeared while Megalodon continued to survive. Fossils from different ages show slight changes in Megalodon teeth, suggesting that the species also changed over time as it adapted to different conditions. Even with these changes, the basic shape of its teeth remained highly effective for hunting large prey. Throughout much of its existence, Megalodon occupied a leading place in the food chain of the ancient oceans. Few animals were large enough to challenge a fully grown adult. Its success depended on healthy populations of large marine mammals and other sizable prey. As long as warm seas remained rich with life, Megalodon continued to thrive across wide areas of the world's oceans. Its presence left lasting marks in the fossil record through countless teeth scattered across ancient seabeds. These fossils continue to help scientists piece together the history of one of the largest sharks ever known, revealing where it lived, how long it survived, the environments it preferred, and the changing prehistoric seas that shaped its long history. Megalodon belonged to a group of sharks that had bodies built for swimming through open water. Its body was long and thick, giving it the strength needed to move through the sea. Scientists believe it had a wide head that held powerful jaws. These jaws contained many rows of teeth that were replaced throughout the shark's life. Like living sharks, Megalodon likely lost teeth often, and new teeth moved forward to take their place. Because of this natural process, thousands of Megalodon teeth have been found in different parts of the world. Researchers estimate that a fully grown Megalodon could reach a length of about 50 feet or even more. Some studies suggest that the very largest individuals may have grown to nearly 60 feet in length. Although scientists continue to study new fossils and improve their estimates, everyone agrees that this shark was among the largest predators ever known from the oceans. Its great length meant that every part of its body was built to support its weight and help it move through deep and shallow waters. The head of Megalodon was extremely large. A shark of such size needed a broad skull to support its powerful jaws and large muscles. The bones of a shark's head are made mostly of cartilage instead of hard bone. Cartilage is lighter and more flexible than bone, which helped sharks swim with less weight. Since cartilage usually breaks down after death, complete skulls of Megalodon have not been found. Scientists study the skulls of living sharks together with Megalodon teeth to understand how its head may have looked. Its jaws were among the most important parts of its body. Strong jaw muscles allowed the shark to open its mouth very wide and close it with great force. The jaws were filled with large triangular teeth that had sharp edges. These teeth were thick and strong, making them less likely to break when biting into large animals. Many fossil teeth still have clear cutting edges, showing how well they were built for slicing through flesh. Each tooth had a broad root that held it firmly in the jaw. Above the root was the crown, which formed the sharp cutting part of the tooth. The edges often had small serrations. These tiny points helped the tooth cut more effectively. The surface of the tooth was smooth and hard because it was covered with enamel. This hard outer layer protected the tooth from damage during feeding. The largest Megalodon teeth found by scientists measure more than 7 inches in length. Many others are smaller because they came from younger sharks or from different positions in the jaw. Teeth near the front were usually shaped a little differently from those near the sides. This arrangement helped the shark grip and cut food as it bit into its prey. Megalodon probably carried several rows of teeth at all times. Only the front row was used for biting, while the rows behind it waited to replace teeth that became worn or fell out. As the shark continued growing, it produced thousands of teeth during its lifetime. This is one reason why fossil teeth are much more common than other parts of the animal. The mouth itself was very large. Scientists believe it opened wide enough to bite into large marine animals with ease. The muscles around the mouth work together to create an extremely powerful bite. Estimates of bite force have changed over time as new research has been completed, but experts agree that it was among the strongest known for any animal that has ever lived. Such strength allowed Megalodon to capture large prey and remove large pieces of flesh quickly. Behind the head, the body became thick and powerful. The middle part of the body contained large muscles that supplied most of the force needed for swimming. These muscles worked with the tail to move the shark through the water. A thick body also helped support the weight of such a large animal. Even though water helped hold up its body, strong muscles were still necessary for movement over long distances. The skin of Megalodon was probably covered with tiny scales called dermal denticles. These structures are found on living sharks today. They are very small and shaped in a way that helps water move smoothly across the body. Instead of feeling soft, shark skin feels rough because of these tiny scales. Scientists believe Megalodon had the same kind of skin, because this feature is common among sharks. The back of the shark likely held a large dorsal fin that helped keep the body balanced while swimming. This fin would have prevented the shark from rolling too much as it moved through the water. Additional smaller fins also helped with balance and steering. The fins worked together so the shark could change direction when needed. The pectoral fins were attached near the front of the body. These broad fins helped control movement through the water. They allowed the shark to rise, sink, and turn more smoothly. Because Megalodon was so large, these fins also needed to be large and strong. Their wide shape provided support while the shark swam over great distances. Near the back of the body was the tail. Scientists believe the tail played the biggest role in moving the shark forward. The tail likely had two unequal lobes, as seen in many sharks today. Each powerful sweep pushed water backward, driving the shark ahead. Strong muscles connected to the tail allowed it to produce steady movement without stopping for long periods. The backbone of Megalodon consisted of many vertebrae made from cartilage. In some cases, these vertebrae became fossilized after minerals replaced the original material. Fossil vertebrae have given scientists important clues about the shark's growth. Growth rings inside these vertebrae may record different stages of life, allowing researchers to estimate the age of some individuals. Young Megalodon sharks were already large when they were born. Studies suggest that newborn pups may have measured around 6 feet in length. Such a large size gave them a better chance of surviving in the ocean. Young sharks continued growing over many years before reaching full adult size. Their bodies changed gradually as muscles became stronger and the jaws grew larger. The eyes of Megalodon have not been preserved in fossils because they were made from soft tissue. Scientists believe the eyes were large enough to provide good vision underwater. Good eyesight would have helped the shark detect movement and locate prey. Like many living sharks, Megalodon may also have relied on other senses, including its ability to detect vibrations in the water and weak electrical signals produced by other animals. Its nostrils were located near the front of the snout. Water passed through these openings, allowing the shark to detect smells carried by ocean currents. Sharks have an excellent sense of smell, and scientists believe Megalodon shared this ability. Detecting scents over long distances would have helped it locate food in the vast ocean. Inside its mouth, rows of gills allowed the shark to take oxygen from the water. As water flowed across the gills, oxygen entered the bloodstream while waste gases left the body. Large animals require a steady supply of oxygen, making healthy gills essential for survival. Megalodon probably swam almost constantly to ensure water continued passing over its gills. Its heart pumped blood throughout its enormous body. The circulatory system carried oxygen and nutrients to muscles, organs, and other tissues. A body of such great size required an efficient system to keep every part working properly. Strong circulation supported active swimming and the energy needed for hunting. The stomach was large enough to hold substantial amounts of food after successful hunts. Digestion allowed nutrients to be absorbed and used for growth, repair, and daily activity. Since large prey provided a great deal of food, Megalodon may not have needed to hunt every day. After feeding, it likely spent time digesting before searching for another meal. The liver was probably very large, as seen in many living sharks. A shark's liver stores energy and helps control buoyancy, because it contains large amounts of oil. This feature reduced the need for a swim bladder, which sharks do not possess. A large liver also supported many important processes within the body. The oceans during the time of Megalodon were filled with many kinds of animals, and this giant shark lived in an environment where food was available in many forms. Every living creature needed to eat in order to survive, and Megalodon was no different. Because of its great size, powerful body, and active way of life, it needed a large amount of food on a regular basis. Scientists have spent many years studying fossil teeth, fossil bones, ancient sea life, and the marks left on the remains of prey animals to understand what Megalodon ate and how it hunted. Although the soft parts of its body disappeared after death, the hard teeth remained buried in rocks for millions of years. These fossil teeth, together with damaged whale bones and other fossil evidence, have helped experts build a clear picture of the feeding habits of this giant shark. Megalodon lived during a time when the ocean supported many kinds of whales. Some whales were much smaller than the giant whales living today, while others had already grown into large marine mammals. These whales formed an important part of the food supply for Megalodon. Scientists have discovered fossil whale bones carrying deep bite marks that closely match the shape, size, and spacing of Megalodon teeth. These marks show that the shark attacked whales and bit them with tremendous force. Many of these fossils have been found in different parts of the world, showing that this feeding behavior happened across many ancient seas. Young whales were probably easier targets than fully grown adults. A young whale had less experience, less strength, and a smaller body. Mothers often stayed close to their calves to protect them, but even with this care, a giant predator could still launch an attack. If a young whale became separated from its mother or the rest of its group, it became much more vulnerable. A hungry Megalodon may have taken advantage of such situations whenever the opportunity appeared. Adult whales were also hunted, although attacking a large whale required more effort and carried greater risk. A large whale could defend itself by using its strong tail or by trying to escape into deeper water. Some whales may have gathered together when danger appeared, making it harder for a predator to isolate a single individual. Even so, the enormous size and strength of Megalodon allowed it to challenge prey that few other sea predators could attack. Besides whales, Megalodon also fed on dolphins. Ancient dolphins lived in many regions of the world's oceans, and several species were much smaller than modern whales. Dolphins were fast swimmers, but they also needed to breathe air, forcing them to return to the surface at regular intervals. This predictable behavior may have allowed Megalodon to wait for the right moment before attacking. A sudden burst of speed from below or from the side could give the giant shark the advantage before the dolphin had time to escape. Seals also formed part of the available food supply in some coastal areas. Ancient seals often rested near shorelines or swam in shallow waters where food was plentiful. These places may also have attracted Megalodon. Fossil evidence suggests that the shark sometimes entered coastal waters where marine mammals gathered in large numbers. Such areas would have offered many hunting opportunities without requiring the shark to travel long distances in search of food. Sea cows, which were gentle, plant-eating marine mammals, may also have become prey. These slow-moving animals spent much of their time feeding on underwater plants in warm coastal waters. Their peaceful habits and limited speed would have made them possible targets for a hungry Megalodon passing through the area. large fish were another important source of food. Ancient oceans contained many species of fish that reached impressive sizes. Schools of fish gathered in certain areas where food was abundant, while smaller sharks hunted smaller fish. Megalodon likely focused on larger individuals that could provide enough food to satisfy its enormous appetite. A single large fish contained far more energy than many smaller ones. Other sharks may also have become prey under certain circumstances. Sharks sometimes attack other sharks today, especially when food is scarce or when an opportunity presents itself. It's possible that Megalodon behaved in a similar way. Smaller shark species living in the same waters could have been attacked if they crossed paths with this giant predator. Large sea turtles may have occasionally appeared on the menu as well. Their hard shells provided protection against many predators, but the powerful bite of Megalodon could have broken through or crushed parts of the shell. Fossil turtle shells carrying large bite marks have been found in some locations, suggesting that giant sharks sometimes fed on these reptiles. The diet of Megalodon probably changed depending on where it lived and what animals were available. In one region, whales may have been common. In another area, seals, dolphins, fish or sea cows may have been easier to find. Like many predators, Megalodon likely took advantage of whatever prey could provide enough food while requiring the least amount of wasted energy. Scientists believe that Megalodon preferred prey rich in fat because fat provided a large amount of energy. Marine mammals carry thick layers of fat beneath their skin. This layer helped them stay warm in cool water, but it also made them valuable food for large predators. A successful attack on a whale or seal could provide enough nourishment for a considerable period before another hunt became necessary. The size of Megalodon meant that it probably did not need to hunt every single day. A successful kill involving a large whale could provide a huge amount of meat and fat. The shark may have fed from the same carcass over an extended period if other predators did not drive it away. Smaller sharks and scavengers likely gathered around such remains, feeding on whatever pieces were left behind. Scientists have examined fossil whale bones showing repeated bite marks on different parts of the skeleton. These marks suggest that Megalodon often targeted specific areas of the body. The fins were especially important because damaging them reduced the whale's ability to swim effectively. Once the whale became slower or lost balance in the water, escaping became much more difficult. The tail was another likely target. The powerful tail provided the main force that moved a whale through the ocean. A serious injury to this area greatly reduced its speed and strength. By attacking the tail first, Megalodon may have weakened its prey before delivering more powerful bites to other parts of the body. Some scientists believe that the chest area may also have been targeted because it protected important organs. A strong bite in this region could cause severe injuries that quickly weakened the prey. Fossil bones carrying deep tooth marks near the ribs support this possibility. The hunting process probably depended on surprise. Even a giant shark benefited from attacking without warning. The ocean often limited visibility because light became weaker with increasing depth. Floating particles reduced clear sight and waves disturbed the surface. These natural conditions allowed predators to approach without being noticed until they were very close. Megalodon possessed a body built for strong swimming. Although extremely large, it probably moved efficiently through the water. Strong muscles powered its broad tail, allowing it to produce bursts of speed during the final moments before reaching its prey. Such sudden movement gave the prey little time to react. Its senses also played an important role during hunting. Sharks possess an excellent sense of smell that allows them to detect tiny amounts of substances released into the water. Blood, body fluids, and chemical signals spread through ocean currents. Megalodon likely used this ability to locate injured animals or to find groups of marine mammals over considerable distances. Its hearing was probably highly developed as well. Sounds travel very effectively through water. The movements of swimming whales, dolphins, and other sea animals created vibrations that could travel far from their source. These vibrations may have helped Megalodon locate prey even before seeing it directly. The shark's ability to detect electrical signals probably added another advantage. Living animals produce small electrical fields through the activity of their muscles and nerves. Modern sharks possess special organs that detect these weak signals. Scientists believe Megalodon inherited this same ability from its ancestors. This sense would have helped locate prey even when visibility was poor. Good eyesight probably assisted the shark during the final stage of an attack. While smell, hearing, and electrical detection helped locate prey, vision allowed the predator to judge distance and direction before striking. Working together, these senses created an effective hunting system suited to life in ancient oceans. Many experts believe that Megalodon sometimes hunted in shallow coastal waters because these places attracted whales giving birth. Young calves spent their earliest days in warmer water, where they had a better chance of survival. These nursery areas may also have attracted hungry Megalodon, searching for young and inexperienced prey. Coastal waters also supported many other marine animals. Fish gathered there to feed, seals rested on nearby shores, and sea cows grazed on underwater plants. This rich supply of food meant that Megalodon could find many hunting opportunities without traveling far into the open ocean. The timing of an attack was extremely important. A failed attack wasted valuable energy. Chasing healthy prey over long distances would have placed great physical demands on such a large animal. Waiting for the right opportunity increased the chances of success. An injured whale, an isolated calf, or an exhausted animal offered better chances than a healthy adult surrounded by others. Life in the ancient seas was filled with many kinds of animals, but few captured as much attention from scientists as the giant shark, known as Megalodon. This massive predator lived during a time when the oceans held a rich variety of fish, whales, seals, sea turtles, and many other forms of marine life. Every part of its body helped it survive in an environment where hunting was necessary every day. Among all of its physical features, its jaws and teeth have become some of the most studied parts because they reveal how this enormous shark was able to catch, hold, and kill large prey. Even though the soft parts of its body disappeared after its death, thousands of fossil teeth and a small number of fossil vertebrae have given researchers valuable information about its powerful bite and the structure of its mouth. The jaws of Megalodon were built for strength. They had to be strong enough to open very wide and close with great force. A shark of such an enormous size needed a mouth that could capture very large animals without difficulty. Scientists believed that the jaws contained thick muscles attached to strong cartilage. Unlike humans and many other land animals, sharks do not have jaws made from hard bone. Instead, their jaws are formed from cartilage, which is a tough but flexible material. This material is lighter than bone and allows sharks to move through the water more easily, while still giving enough support for powerful muscles. Although cartilage usually breaks down after death, scientists can study living sharks to understand how the jaws of Megalodon may have worked. The muscles that opened and closed the mouth were likely much larger than those found in smaller sharks. These muscles helped create a bite powerful enough to crush hard body parts and tear through thick flesh. Every time the shark closed its mouth, those muscles worked together to produce an enormous amount of force. The size of the mouth itself was another important feature. Researchers believed that Megalodon could open its jaws very wide. This wide opening allowed it to bite large sections of its prey instead of taking small bites. A large mouth also meant that it could grab wide-bodied animals without needing to chase them for a long time. Once the prey was caught inside the jaws, escaping would have been very difficult because of the arrangement and shape of the teeth. The teeth of Megalodon are the most common fossils that scientists have discovered. Shark teeth are covered with a very hard material that allows them to survive in the ground for millions of years. While the rest of the shark's body usually disappeared, the teeth remained buried in rocks, sand, riverbeds, and ocean floors. Today, fossil hunters continue to find Megalodon teeth in many parts of the world. These discoveries have helped experts understand where the shark lived, what it ate, and how it hunted. A single Megalodon tooth was much larger than the tooth of any living shark. Some fossil teeth are longer than the length of an adult human hand. Their wide shape and thick roots gave them great strength. Each tooth had sharp cutting edges that helped slice through flesh with every bite. The edges also had tiny serrations. These serrations looked like very small points along the edge of the tooth. They helped the teeth cut through skin, muscle, and other body tissues more effectively. The roots of the teeth were especially important because they held each tooth firmly inside the jaw. During a hunt, the shark placed enormous pressure on its teeth. Weak roots would have allowed the teeth to break or fall out too easily. Thick roots helped support the cutting part of the tooth whenever the shark bit into struggling prey. Like living sharks, Megalodon probably replaced its teeth throughout its life. Sharks do not keep the same teeth forever. New teeth develop behind older ones. When a tooth becomes damaged or falls out, another tooth moves forward to take its place. This process continues again and again during the shark's lifetime. Scientists believe that Megalodon may have produced thousands of teeth during its life. This constant replacement ensured that the shark always had sharp teeth ready for hunting. This system of replacing teeth gave Megalodon an important advantage. Hunting large animals placed great stress on the teeth. Sometimes a tooth could crack while biting into thick bones or other hard body parts. At other times, a tooth might be pulled loose as prey struggled to escape. Since new teeth were always growing, losing a few teeth did not prevent the shark from continuing to hunt. The arrangement of the teeth inside the jaws also played a major role in hunting. The front teeth were designed to seize prey during the first bite. The side teeth helped slice through flesh as the jaws closed. Teeth near the back of the mouth continued cutting as the prey was held firmly. This organized arrangement allowed every part of the jaw to take part in feeding. Scientists have carefully studied the shape of fossil teeth, collected from different places around the world. Most of these teeth show very similar features, even though they were found thousands of kilometers apart. This tells researchers that Megalodon had a successful tooth design that remained effective for a very long period. The sharp edges, thick roots, and strong structure appeared again and again in fossil discoveries from different ancient oceans. The bite itself has been the subject of many scientific studies. Researchers have used computer models, measurements from living sharks, and fossil evidence to estimate how powerful the bite may have been. Their studies suggest that Megalodon had one of the strongest bites ever produced by any known animal. Such strength would have allowed the shark to crush ribs, damage skulls, and break large bones while feeding. Strong bite force was important because many of the animals hunted by Megalodon were large and powerful themselves. Some whales had thick bones and heavy muscles that protected them from attacks. A weak bite would not have been enough to overcome such prey. The enormous force created by the jaws allowed the shark to injure prey quickly and reduce the chance of a long struggle. The muscles around the head played a major part in producing this force. Thick muscles attached to the upper and lower jaws contracted with great strength every time the shark attacked. The larger the muscles became, the greater the pressure they could create. Scientists believed that the head of Megalodon was shaped in a way that provided enough space for these large muscles to develop. The position of the jaws also helped during hunting. Sharks usually attack by swimming forward, while opening their mouths at the last moment. This movement allows the prey to enter the mouth before the jaws snap shut. Megalodon likely used a similar method. As it approached its target, the jaws opened widely, exposing several rows of sharp teeth. Once close enough, the powerful muscles closed the jaws almost instantly. Each bite probably removed large amounts of flesh from the prey. The serrated edges acted like cutting tools that separated skin and muscle with little resistance. Instead of simply holding prey, the teeth were able to cut deeply into the body. This caused serious injuries that made escape much less likely. Scientists have found fossil whale bones showing deep bite marks that match the shape and size of Megalodon teeth. Some of these bones contain cuts that fit these serrated edges almost perfectly. These fossils provide direct evidence that the giant shark attacked large marine mammals. They also show that the shark often targeted important parts of the body where a successful bite could quickly weaken its prey. Young whales may have been easier targets because they were smaller and had less experience avoiding predators. Fossil evidence suggests that some ancient coastal waters may have served as nursery areas where young whales gathered. These same areas may also have attracted Megalodon because they provided many feeding opportunities. The sharpness of the teeth was another reason for the shark's success. Even though the teeth were very large, their cutting edges remained thin enough to slice efficiently through soft tissue. The tiny serrations increased the effectiveness of every bite by creating many small cutting points along the edge. These cutting points worked together whenever the shark closed its mouth. Scientists believed that the outer surface of each tooth was covered with strong enamel. This hard layer protected the tooth during feeding and reduced damage caused by repeated biting. Although teeth could still break under extreme pressure, the enamel made them much more durable than they would otherwise have been. Different sizes of teeth found in fossil deposits have helped scientists estimate the ages of different Megalodon individuals. Smaller teeth probably belong to younger sharks, while the largest teeth came from fully grown adults. By studying these teeth, researchers have learned that the shape remained mostly consistent throughout the shark's life, although the teeth became larger as the animal matured. The color of fossil teeth varies depending on the minerals present in the ground where they were buried. Some fossils appear black while others are gray, brown, blue, or even reddish. These colors do not show the original appearance of the teeth during the shark's lifetime. Instead, they formed as minerals slowly entered the fossil during millions of years beneath the ground. Every fossil tooth carries valuable information. Small scratches, broken edges, and worn surfaces reveal how the shark lived and fed. Some teeth show damage caused by repeated hunting, while others appear almost untouched. Careful examination allows scientists to understand the different experiences of individual sharks during their lives. The discovery of Megalodon teeth has taken place on every continent except Antarctica. Many have been found along beaches, inside cliffs, within river deposits, and beneath the sea floor. Each discovery adds another piece to the story of this giant predator and helps scientists improve their understanding of its remarkable jaws and teeth. Like every other shark, Megalodon began its life as a developing young animal inside its mother. Scientists believe that Megalodon gave birth to live young instead of laying eggs. This idea comes from what is known about the close living relatives of this giant shark, and from fossil discoveries that suggest young sharks were already quite large when they were born. The babies were not tiny creatures. They were already much bigger than the young of many shark species living today. A newborn Megalodon may have been several meters long, giving it a better chance of surviving in the dangerous ocean where many predators searched for food. Inside the mother's body, the young sharks likely developed for many months before birth. During this time, they received nourishment that allowed them to grow stronger before entering the open sea. Scientists think that developing Megalodon babies may have fed on unfertilized eggs produced by the mother. This behavior is seen in some living sharks today. It allows the strongest young sharks to continue growing before birth. Because they were already large at birth, they entered the ocean with stronger bodies, powerful jaws, and better swimming ability than many smaller sea animals around them. After birth, the young sharks needed safe places where they could continue growing without facing constant attacks from larger predators. Fossil evidence suggests that shallow coastal waters served as nursery areas for young Megalodon. These places had warmer water, many kinds of fish, and fewer very large predators than the deeper ocean. The warmer water also helped young sharks remain active as they searched for food. Many fossil teeth belonging to young Megalodon have been discovered in places that were once shallow seas. This pattern supports the idea that these areas were important for raising the next generation. Young Megalodon did not immediately hunt the largest animals in the sea. During the early part of life, they probably fed on fish, smaller sharks, rays, sea turtles, and marine mammals that were easier to catch. Their teeth were already strong enough to cut through flesh, but their bodies had not yet reached the enormous size of fully grown adults. Hunting smaller prey helped them gain strength while reducing the danger that came with attacking very large animals. As the young sharks continued feeding, they grew steadily over many years. Growth depended on finding enough food. A healthy shark that lived in an area filled with prey would have had a better chance of growing quickly. Areas with fewer animals to hunt may have slowed growth because the shark needed to spend more time searching for food while using valuable energy. Scientists study the growth of ancient sharks by examining growth marks found inside fossil vertebrae. These marks are similar to growth rings seen in other animals. Each mark represents a period of growth. By counting these marks, researchers estimate the age of some fossil sharks and learn how quickly they grew. Although complete Megalodon skeletons are extremely rare, the fossil vertebrae that have been found give important clues about the life of this giant animal. Research suggests that Megalodon grew rapidly during the early years of life. Fast growth helped reduce the time during which young sharks were small enough to become prey for larger hunters. Reaching a greater size also allowed them to hunt stronger animals and travel farther across the ocean. As their bodies became larger, their muscles became stronger, their jaws more powerful, and their swimming ability more effective. The teeth of Megalodon changed throughout its life. Young sharks had smaller teeth than adults, but their shape remained well suited for cutting meat. As the shark grew, its teeth became larger, thicker, and stronger. Adult teeth reached an enormous size and had wide cutting edges, with small serrations that helped slice through skin, flesh, and bone. Sharks continuously replaced lost teeth throughout their lives. When one tooth fell out, another moved forward to take its place. This process continued again and again, allowing the shark to keep an effective set of teeth even after many became damaged during feeding. Because Megalodon replaced thousands of teeth during its lifetime, fossil teeth are much more common than other body parts. Many of these teeth settled into the seafloor after falling from the shark's mouth. Over time, they became buried under layers of sand and mud. After many ages passed, these buried teeth turned into fossils that could later be discovered by scientists and fossil collectors. As Megalodon entered its teenage stage, its hunting ability improved greatly. Its increasing body size gave it more strength and allowed it to chase larger prey. Experience also played an important role. Young sharks likely learned through repeated hunting attempts. Every successful hunt helped improve their skill in approaching prey, choosing the right moment to attack, and using powerful bites effectively. The senses of Megalodon were important throughout every stage of its life. Like living sharks, it probably had an excellent sense of smell that allowed it to detect blood and other scents released into the water. Tiny amounts of these scents could travel great distances through ocean currents. By following these scent trails, the shark could locate wounded animals or large groups of prey. Its hearing also helped it detect movement in the surrounding water. Sounds travel efficiently underwater, allowing sharks to notice struggling animals from considerable distances. Vibrations created by swimming animals could be picked up by special sensory organs along the shark's body. These organs helped the shark understand what was happening nearby, even when prey could not be seen clearly. Megalodon also possessed special organs around its head that detected weak electrical signals produced by living animals. Every muscle movement and heartbeat created tiny electrical fields. These signals helped the shark locate prey hidden beneath sand, swimming in cloudy water, or moving in darkness. This ability increased hunting success in many different environments. Its eyesight likely supported these other senses. Vision may have been especially useful near the surface where sunlight reached the water. In deeper or darker areas, smell, hearing, vibration detection, and electrical sensing became even more important. Working together, these senses gave Megalodon a detailed understanding of its surroundings. As the shark matured into adulthood, its body reached extraordinary dimensions. A larger body required enormous amounts of food. Adult Megalodon likely hunted frequently to maintain enough energy for swimming, growth, healing, and reproduction. Large marine mammals became important food sources because they provided substantial amounts of meat and fat. Fat was especially valuable because it supplied energy that lasted longer than lean meat alone. The hunting behavior of adult Megalodon probably depended on the type of prey it encountered. A fast-moving whale required a different hunting method than a slower sea turtle or another shark. Scientists believed that Megalodon adjusted its attacks according to the situation. Sometimes it may have aimed directly at the body. At other times it may have bitten the fins or tail to reduce the prey's ability to escape before delivering additional bites. Strong swimming muscles allowed the shark to move quickly when necessary. Although such a massive animal may not have remained at high speed for very long, short bursts of powerful movement helped during attacks. The large tail generated strong forward movement, while the broad fins helped control direction and balance. Swimming across vast areas of the ocean was probably a regular part of Megalodon's life. Food was not evenly spread throughout the sea. Marine mammals migrated, fish schools moved with changing seasons, and ocean conditions changed over time. Following these food sources likely required long journeys through coastal waters and across open seas. Fossil discoveries from many parts of the world suggest that Megalodon lived in oceans covering large areas of the planet. Changes in water temperature may also have influenced its movements. Warmer waters supported rich marine life in many regions, providing excellent hunting grounds. Seasonal shifts may have encouraged the shark to move toward areas where prey became more abundant. These movements helped increase feeding opportunities throughout the year. The daily behavior of Megalodon cannot be observed directly because it became extinct millions of years ago. Scientists therefore study living sharks and fossil evidence to build careful ideas about how it may have behaved. It probably spent much of its time searching for food rather than remaining in one location. Large predators often need to travel widely because prey animals are constantly moving. Rest was also an important part of its life. Sharks do not sleep in exactly the same way as humans. Some remain active while resting certain parts of their brain. Megalodon may have alternated periods of active swimming with quieter periods that required less energy. Calm swimming allowed muscles to recover while still keeping water flowing across the gills so breathing could continue. Feeding behavior likely changed after a successful hunt. A large meal may have supplied enough energy for several days before another hunt became necessary. Digestion required time as the stomach broke down meat, fat, skin, and bone. Strong digestive acids helped process these materials so nutrients could be absorbed into the body. Injuries were probably a normal part of life. Hunting large animals carried risks. Powerful prey sometimes fought back using tails, flippers, or sharp teeth. Other sharks could also inflict injuries during conflicts over food or territory. The healing ability of sharks helped many wounds recover if infection did not become severe. Bite marks found on some fossil bones suggest that fierce encounters occurred in ancient oceans. Social behavior remains one of the greatest mysteries surrounding Megalodon. Most large sharks living today spend much of their lives alone, meeting mainly during breeding or when food becomes plentiful. Megalodon may have behaved in a similar way. Large food sources, such as whale carcasses, could have attracted several sharks to the same location, leading to temporary gatherings before each animal continued on its own path. Although Megalodon may have spent much of its life alone, there were likely times when several individuals entered the same area because large numbers of prey were present. During whale migrations or in places where many marine mammals gathered to feed or give birth, enough food may have been available to attract more than one giant shark. Even if several Megalodon occupied the same waters, each animal probably focused mainly on finding its own prey. Large sharks usually avoid wasting energy in unnecessary fights, because serious injuries can reduce their ability to hunt successfully. Breeding was one of the most important parts of the Megalodon life cycle. Scientists cannot observe this behavior directly, but evidence from living sharks provides useful clues. Adult males and females likely searched for one another. During certain times, when breeding conditions were suitable, the process probably involved careful movement, body contact and mating that allowed the female to carry developing young inside her body. After mating, the adults most likely separated and continued living independently across the ocean. The female carried her developing young for a long period. During this time, the unborn sharks continued growing until they were large enough to survive after birth. Carrying such large offspring required a great deal of energy. The mother needed regular feeding to support both her own body and the growing young. Healthy hunting grounds therefore became especially important for pregnant females. When the young were ready to be born, the mother likely moved into shallow coastal waters that offered greater safety. These nursery areas contained enough food for growing young while reducing the chance of immediate attacks from very large predators. Giving birth in these locations increased the survival chances of the newborn sharks. After birth, the mother probably did not remain to care for her young. Like many sharks living today, the babies likely became independent almost immediately and relied entirely on their own instincts. The first weeks of life were probably among the most difficult periods for a young megalodon. Even though newborns were already large, they still faced many dangers. Other large sharks, marine reptiles that survived in some earlier periods, and powerful meat-eating sea mammals may have attacked young individuals whenever the opportunity appeared. Finding enough food while avoiding danger required constant movement and alertness. Young megalodon likely spent much of their time close to productive coastal waters, where fish, rays, and smaller sharks were plentiful. These prey animals provided enough nourishment without forcing the young sharks into dangerous confrontations with much larger animals. As their confidence and physical strength increased, they gradually expanded into deeper waters where larger prey lived. Growth continued steadily through the juvenile years. Every successful meal supplied proteins, fats, minerals, and other nutrients that strengthened muscles, internal organs, skin, and teeth. Sharks do not stop replacing their teeth throughout life, and young megalodon constantly developed new teeth behind those already in use. Broken or worn teeth were replaced naturally, allowing hunting to continue without long interruptions. The skin of Megalodon likely played an important role in its daily life. Like living sharks, its skin was probably covered with tiny tooth-like structures called dermal denticles. These small structures reduced resistance while swimming and protected the skin from damage. The rough surface also helped prevent some parasites from attaching easily. Healthy skin improved movement through the water and reduced unnecessary energy loss during long journeys. Body temperature may also have influenced Megalodon's behavior. Many scientists believe this giant shark possessed the ability to keep parts of its body warmer than the surrounding water. This would have allowed important muscles and organs to work efficiently even when swimming into cooler regions. Maintaining warmer muscles supported stronger swimming and effective hunting over a wider range of ocean conditions. The heart of such a massive shark had to pump blood throughout an enormous body. Strong circulation carried oxygen and nutrients to muscles that worked constantly during swimming. Efficient blood flow also helped remove waste products created during physical activity. Every organ depended on this steady circulation to continue functioning properly. Breathing occurred as water passed across the gills. Oxygen dissolved in seawater entered the bloodstream while waste gases left the body. Continuous swimming probably helped maintain this flow of water. During slower movement, the shark still needed enough water passing over its gills to support its large body. This requirement influenced how much time it spent moving through the ocean. The digestive system of Megalodon was designed to handle large amounts of food. After capturing prey, the shark swallowed large pieces of meat. Powerful stomach acids and digestive enzymes broke these pieces into smaller substances that the body could absorb. Bones, skin, and other hard tissues may have remained in the stomach for longer periods before being fully processed or expelled. Because hunting required great effort, Megalodon probably used its energy carefully. Swimming at moderate speeds over long distances required less energy than repeated fast attacks. The shark may have traveled calmly while searching for prey and then suddenly increased its speed only when an opportunity appeared. This pattern reduced unnecessary energy use while keeping the animal prepared for successful hunting. The changing seasons influenced many marine animals during the time Megalodon lived. Schools of fish moved from one region to another. Whales followed seasonal feeding routes. water temperatures rose and fell in different parts of the world. Megalodon likely adjusted its movements to match these changes. Remaining close to dependable food sources increased its chances of survival throughout the year. Some fossil discoveries suggest that certain coastal regions served as nursery grounds for long periods. Many teeth from young Megalodon have been found together in these ancient environments. This indicates that generations of females may have returned to similar areas to give birth. Such behavior is seen in several living shark species, where females repeatedly visit safe locations that provide favorable conditions for newborn young. As Megalodon reached full adulthood, it became one of the dominant hunters in many marine environments. Few animals were large enough to threaten a healthy adult. Even so, life was not free from danger. Serious injuries, disease, food shortages, and changing ocean conditions could still threaten survival. Every hunt involved some level of risk, especially when attacking large whales capable of powerful movements. Old age gradually affected the giant shark. Growth slowed after reaching full size, but the body still required large amounts of food to remain healthy. Teeth continued being replaced, although healing from injuries may have become slower as the shark aged. Older individuals may have relied more on experience than speed when choosing prey and planning attacks. Wear on the teeth provided clues about an individual's life. Repeated biting against bone caused damage that required constant tooth replacement. Fossil teeth sometimes show broken tips or worn cutting edges, suggesting that Megalodon regularly bit through very hard materials while feeding. These damaged teeth eventually fell out and were replaced by new ones waiting beneath the gums. Parasites probably lived on or inside Megalodon, just as they do on many marine animals today. Small organisms may have attached themselves to the skin or entered the digestive system. Healthy sharks usually tolerated some parasites without serious problems, although heavy infestations could weaken an individual over time. Natural cleaning by seawater movement and the protective structure of the skin may have reduced some of these effects. The oceans where Megalodon lived contained many different habitats. There were shallow coastal waters, open oceans, underwater mountains, deep trenches, coral-rich areas, and wide continental shelves. Megalodon likely visited different habitats, depending on food availability, breeding needs, and changing environmental conditions. Its powerful swimming ability allowed it to move between these regions during different stages of life. Weather conditions also affected ocean life. Powerful storms stirred the water, changed currents, and moved prey animals into new areas. Large sharks were capable of surviving rough conditions, but storms may have temporarily changed hunting patterns. After major disturbances, wounded or stranded marine animals could become easier targets for large predators, searching for food. Ocean currents served as natural pathways connecting distant regions. These moving waters carried nutrients that supported fish populations and other marine life. By following productive currents, Megalodon increased its chances of finding abundant prey. Currents also influenced water temperature, affecting where different marine animals gathered throughout the year. The giant shark probably spent much of its time below the surface, where large prey frequently traveled. It may have approached the surface when following whales or investigating floating carcasses. Sunlight reached only the upper layers of the sea, while deeper waters remained darker. Megalodon's highly developed senses allowed it to function effectively under different light conditions. Scavenging may also have formed part of its feeding behavior. Although fully capable of hunting live prey, a dead whale drifting in the ocean represented a valuable source of food. Feeding on carcasses required far less energy than chasing healthy animals. The strong sense of smell would have helped the shark locate dead animals from long distances, as their remains released scents into the surrounding water. Competition for these carcasses likely occurred whenever several large predators arrived at the same location. Large sharks, smaller sharks, and other meat-eating marine animals may all have fed on the same remains. Temporary conflicts over feeding space probably happened, but serious fights carried the risk of injury for every animal involved. Learning throughout life helped improve survival. Although sharks do not learn in the same way humans do, experience influences their behavior. A shark that successfully hunted certain prey may continue using effective methods in future hunts. Repeated encounters with dangerous animals may also encourage greater caution. These forms of learning increased hunting success and reduced unnecessary risks as the animal matured. Environmental changes occurring over many thousands of years gradually affected Megalodon's life. Shifting coastlines, changing sea levels, cooling ocean temperatures, and changes in marine ecosystems altered the places where prey animals lived. As food sources changed, Megalodon needed to adjust its movements and hunting areas. Some regions that once supported abundant marine life eventually became less productive, encouraging long-distance travel in search of better feeding grounds. The oceans of the world changed greatly during the time when Megalodon lived. These changes happened slowly over many millions of years, but they affected almost every part of the marine environment. The water became different in many places. The climate changed, sea levels rose and fell, ocean currents shifted, and many kinds of sea animals also changed. These natural events affected where food could be found, where animals could live, and how they survived. Megalodon depended on healthy oceans that could support large numbers of marine animals. As the environment continued to change, the giant shark faced growing challenges in finding enough food, living in suitable waters, and raising its young. Megalodon lived during a time when Earth was already changing in many ways. The climate did not remain the same throughout its existence. Some periods were warmer, while later periods became cooler. These changes affected both the land and the sea. Even small changes in the average temperature of the oceans could influence the lives of marine animals. Different kinds of fish, whales, seals, dolphins, sea turtles, and other creatures often moved to places where the water better suited their needs. Since Megalodon depended on many of these animals for food, any movement of prey also affected where the giant shark could hunt. Warm water was especially important for Megalodon. Scientists believe that this giant shark preferred oceans with higher temperatures. Many fossils of Megalodon have been found in places that were once covered by warm seas. These areas provided rich hunting grounds because they contained many kinds of large marine animals. Warm waters also helped young megalodons grow in safer conditions. As Earth's climate slowly cooled, many of these warm regions became smaller. This reduced the amount of suitable habitat available for the giant shark. The cooling climate did not happen all at once. It was a slow process that lasted over a very long period. As temperatures dropped, large ice sheets began to grow near the northern and southern parts of the planet. More water became locked inside ice. This caused sea levels to fall in many places. When sea levels dropped, shallow coastal waters became smaller or disappeared completely. These shallow waters were important for many marine animals because they provided food, shelter, and safe places to raise young. The loss of shallow coastal seas affected many kinds of life. Fish that depended on these areas became less common in some regions. marine mammals also had to adjust to changing conditions. Since Megalodon hunted many large sea animals, any change in their numbers influenced the giant shark. Hunting became more difficult in places where prey became less common or moved to different regions. Ocean currents also changed as the climate changed. Ocean currents carry warm and cold water around the world. They also move nutrients that support tiny sea life. Tiny organisms floating in the water form the beginning of many ocean food chains. Small fish eat these tiny organisms, larger fish eat the smaller fish, and large predators feed on animals higher in the food chain. When ocean currents changed, the movement of nutrients also changed. Some areas became richer in food, while others became less productive. Changes in ocean currents could affect large animals over great distances. Whales often followed areas where food was plentiful. Fish schools also moved with changing water conditions. Since Megalodon hunted these animals, it had to follow them into different parts of the ocean. If prey became spread over wider areas, hunting required more time and more energy. This could reduce the amount of food available to each individual shark. The cooling oceans also changed where many species could survive. Some animals adapted by moving toward warmer waters. Others developed ways to live in cooler seas. Not every species was able to adjust successfully. Some populations became smaller over time. Others disappeared from certain regions. Every change affected the balance of life in the oceans. Megalodon needed large amounts of food because of its enormous body size. A giant animal uses a great deal of energy simply to stay alive. Swimming over long distances, hunting powerful prey, growing and reproducing all required energy. This energy came from food. If prey became harder to find, the giant shark would have needed to spend more time searching for meals. Many scientists believe that whales formed an important part of the Megalodon's diet. During the earlier part of the giant shark's history, many kinds of whales lived in warm coastal waters. These whales included species of different sizes. Some were young animals that were easier to catch. Others were adults that may have been attacked when injured, sick, or separated from their groups. As environmental conditions changed, many whale species also changed their behavior and their distribution. Some whale species began spending more time in cooler waters. Others developed migration patterns that covered very long distances. These movements may have reduced the opportunities for Megalodon to hunt them in warm coastal areas. If whales spent less time in places where the giant shark preferred to live, finding enough food would have become more difficult. Changes in sea level also affected breeding grounds for many marine animals. Coastal environments, such as shallow bays and sheltered waters, often supported young fish, young sharks, and many other sea creatures. When these habitats became smaller because of falling sea levels, many species lost important places where their young could grow safely. This reduced the number of animals that survived into adulthood. Young megalodons probably depended on protected nursery areas. Scientists have discovered fossil teeth from young individuals in places that were once shallow coastal waters. These discoveries suggest that young sharks spent part of their early lives in areas with fewer large predators and plenty of smaller prey. Such environments would have increased their chances of survival. As sea levels changed, many nursery areas disappeared or became less suitable. Young megalodons may have faced greater dangers from predators or greater difficulty finding enough food. Lower survival among young sharks could gradually reduce the number of adult megalodons living in the oceans. The changing climate also influenced the amount of oxygen in different parts of the sea. Oxygen dissolved in seawater is necessary for marine animals. Fish, sharks, and marine mammals all depend on oxygen to survive. Changes in temperature and ocean circulation can affect how oxygen moves through the water. Some regions became less suitable for large active predators if oxygen levels dropped. The chemical makeup of the oceans also changed over time. Natural processes such as volcanic activity, weathering of rocks, and changes in ocean circulation affected the balance of minerals and gases in seawater. Marine plants and animals responded differently to these changes. Tiny organisms that formed the base of ocean food chains could increase or decrease depending on environmental conditions. Since every level of the food chain depends on the levels below it, even small changes among tiny organisms could eventually affect the largest predators. Large predators are often sensitive to changes in food supply because they need more food than smaller animals. A reduction in prey does not only affect one meal, it can influence growth, health, reproduction, and survival over many years. Female megalodons likely needed especially large amounts of food while producing and carrying developing young. If food became scarce, fewer young might survive. Environmental change also affected the movement of nutrients from rivers into the sea. Rivers carry minerals and organic material from the land into coastal waters. These nutrients support the growth of tiny plants and other organisms. Changes in rainfall, mountain building, and sea level influenced how nutrients entered the oceans. Different coastal regions experienced different conditions as a result. Large underwater areas that had once supported rich marine life sometimes became less productive. Other regions became richer, but they were not always located where Megalodon lived most successfully. The giant shark may have needed to travel farther between feeding grounds, increasing the amount of energy required to survive. Marine ecosystems are connected in many ways. A change affecting one group of animals can influence many others. If populations of small fish became smaller in one region, larger fish that depended on them also faced difficulties. Marine mammals that fed on fish might move elsewhere. Large predators following those mammals would also need to adjust. This chain of events could spread through the entire ecosystem. Many marine species successfully adapted to changing conditions through movement, changes in diet, or gradual evolution over many generations. Some species developed body features that helped them live in colder water. Others changed their feeding habits or moved into different habitats. These changes often took place slowly across many thousands of generations. Megalodon had evolved into a highly successful ocean predator, but its large size also brought challenges during times of environmental change. Large animals often require stable supplies of food and suitable habitats. When those conditions become less reliable, survival becomes more difficult. Even if adult megalodons remained powerful hunters, they still depended on healthy marine ecosystems filled with abundant prey. The spread of cooler waters across many parts of the oceans likely reduced the areas where Megalodon could live comfortably. Populations that had once occupied wide regions may have become separated, as suitable warm habitats became smaller. Smaller populations living farther apart could have found it harder to maintain healthy breeding numbers. This gradual reduction in connected habitats may have added another challenge as environmental changes continued. Millions of years ago, the world's oceans were home to many kinds of large predators that lived at the same time. These ancient seas stretched across huge parts of the planet and provided food, shelter, and places where many marine animals could live and reproduce. Among the largest predators was the giant shark known as Megalodon. It lived during a time when the oceans contained many other powerful hunters. These predators shared the same waters, searched for food in many of the same places, and often depended on similar kinds of prey. Life in the sea was filled with constant movement as animals hunted, travelled, rested, reproduced, and avoided danger. Every large predator needed enough food to survive, and this created a natural struggle for resources. Even though the oceans were vast, the animals living there could still meet one another, while following schools of fish, groups of whales, or other marine animals. Competition between prehistoric marine predators happened because many different species relied on the same ocean environment. Every predator needed energy from food. If one area contained many whales, seals, fish, turtles, or other sea animals, several predators could arrive there at the same time. This did not always lead to direct fights. In many situations, the strongest predator simply reached the prey first, while another predator searched somewhere else. Sometimes one predator fed on the remains left behind by another. At other times, several predators hunted different animals living in the same region. The balance between these predators changed. As ocean temperatures changed, sea levels rose or fell, and different prey animals became more or less common. Megalodon had many physical features that helped it survive among other giant hunters. It had an enormous body, a powerful tail for swimming, strong muscles and large jaws filled with many rows of sharp teeth. Its teeth were made to grip flesh and cut through thick skin, muscle, and bone. These features allowed it to attack large marine animals, especially whales. Scientists have discovered megalodon teeth in many parts of the world, showing that this shark lived across a wide range of oceans. This wide distribution placed it in areas where many other predators also lived. One group of prehistoric marine predators that shared parts of the oceans with Megalodon included large-toothed whales. Some ancient whales were active hunters that caught fish, squid, seals, dolphins, and even other whales. These predators had strong jaws and large teeth that allowed them to grab struggling prey. Unlike sharks, these whales breathed air and had to return to the surface regularly. They also gave birth to live young and cared for them after birth. Their intelligence and social behavior may have helped them find food and protect members of their groups. When these ancient whales hunted in places where Megalodon also searched for food, competition naturally developed because both predators depended on large marine animals. Among these ancient whales was a giant predator called. This whale lived during much of the same period as Megalodon. It had an enormous head filled with large teeth that could grip and tear flesh. Fossils show that its teeth were among the largest ever found in any whale. Scientists believe that Leviathan hunted large prey, including whales. Since Megalodon also hunted whales, both predators probably searched for similar food sources. In some parts of the ocean, their hunting areas may have crossed. Direct meetings may have happened from time to time, although fossil evidence showing actual battles between them has not been found. The presence of two giant predators feeding on large whales meant that whale populations faced danger from more than one direction. A whale escaping one predator could later encounter another while travelling through the same waters. Young whales, injured whales, older whales, and isolated individuals would have been especially vulnerable. Healthy adult whales were also hunted, particularly if they became trapped in shallow waters or separated from larger groups. Ancient dolphins also lived during this period. Many were much larger than most dolphins alive today. Some hunted fish while others attacked squid and medium-sized marine animals. Their speed and intelligence allowed them to catch prey in open water. Although they were much smaller than Megalodon, they still formed part of the complex food system that existed in prehistoric oceans. Some large dolphins may have competed with younger Megalodon individuals for smaller prey, especially fish and squid. Large seals and sea lions were another important food source for many marine predators. These mammals spent time both in the water and on land. When swimming through coastal waters, they faced attacks from sharks, large whales, and other hunters. Colonies of seals attracted predators because many animals gathered together in one place. Young seals were especially easy targets. A megalodon passing through such an area could find many feeding opportunities. Other predators visiting the same location also increased competition for food. Ancient sea turtles lived alongside these giant predators as well. Their strong shells protected them from many dangers, but very large predators could still kill them. Some sharks fed on turtles, especially younger individuals with softer shells. Other marine predators also included turtles in their diet whenever the opportunity appeared. Since turtles moved through coastal waters and open oceans, they became part of the shared food resources available to different hunters. Fish were one of the most common food sources in prehistoric oceans. Huge schools of fish supported many kinds of predators. Large sharks, ancient whales, dolphins, seabirds, and giant fish all depended on these moving groups. Competition became stronger when fish numbers dropped because predators had to search farther and spend more energy finding enough food. Young megalodon individuals probably depended more on fish than fully grown adults. This meant that younger sharks may have competed directly with many other fish-eating predators. Squid were also an important food source. Ancient oceans contain many kinds of squid living at different depths. Some were small while others reached impressive sizes. Toothed whales often hunted squid during deep dives. Large fish and sharks also captured squid whenever possible. The availability of squid affected the movement of predators because they followed areas where food remained plentiful. The oceans also contained giant predatory fish. Some reached large sizes and possessed strong jaws filled with sharp teeth. Although many were smaller than Megalodon, they still occupied important positions in the food chain. These fish hunted other fish, squid, and smaller marine animals. Their presence added another layer of competition because they shared parts of the same ecosystem. Every predator needed enough prey to survive, reproduce, and raise young. Marine crocodiles had existed in earlier periods of Earth's history, although most disappeared before Megalodon reached its greatest success. Their earlier presence showed that the oceans had supported many different kinds of large predators over millions of years. As different groups appeared and disappeared, new predators filled available roles within marine ecosystems. Megalodon entered an ocean environment that had already experienced many changes in predator populations. Competition was not always based on direct hunting. Sometimes predators competed by reaching food first. A whale that died naturally or became injured could attract many scavengers. Sharks, large fish, whales, and other marine animals might feed on the same carcass. Such feeding events could become crowded as different species gathered. Larger animals often gained access first, while smaller animals waited for pieces to drift away. This reduced waste because many different creatures benefited from the same food source. Ocean currents influenced where predators found prey. Warm currents carried nutrients that supported tiny marine life. These tiny organisms became food for small animals, which then supported larger fish and marine mammals. Predators learned through instinct to search areas where food remained abundant. Since many species followed these productive waters, competition naturally increased in these locations. Animals that could travel long distances gained access to changing feeding grounds throughout the year. Young megalodon individuals probably lived in shallow coastal nursery areas. These locations offered some protection from larger predators and contained many smaller prey animals. Even in these nurseries, competition existed. Smaller sharks, rays, fish and marine mammals all searched for food within the same habitats. Young megalodons had to grow quickly while avoiding larger hunters that could attack them. As megalodons became larger, their food needs increased greatly. A giant predator required enormous amounts of energy to support its muscles and constant swimming. This forced adult sharks to seek larger prey. Whales became one of the most valuable food sources because a single successful hunt provided a great amount of meat and fat. Since other giant predators also recognized the value of whales, feeding areas often attracted several large hunters at different times. Scientists study fossil teeth, bones, bite marks, and ancient sediments to understand these relationships. Bite marks found on whale bones sometimes match the shape and size of megalodon teeth. Other fossil discoveries reveal injuries caused by ancient whales or other predators. These clues help researchers build a clearer picture of prehistoric oceans, although many details remain uncertain because soft body tissues rarely become fossils. Every new discovery adds another piece to the story of how these giant marine predators live together. The changing climate also affected competition. Ocean temperatures shifted over long periods, changing the distribution of marine life. Some prey species moved into cooler waters, while others remained in warmer regions. Predators followed these movements whenever possible. Species unable to adapt to changing conditions faced greater difficulty finding food. As prey became less common in some areas, competition among predators increased because more hunters searched for the same remaining food resources. Sea level changes also reshaped coastlines, shallow seas, and nursery habitats. Some feeding grounds disappeared while new ones formed elsewhere. Marine predators had to adjust their travel routes and hunting patterns. Animals that adapted successfully continued finding food while others struggled. These environmental changes affected every predator living in prehistoric oceans, including Megalodon and its rivals. Predators also faced competition within their own species. Adult megalodons likely competed with other adult megalodons for access to whales and productive hunting grounds. Large males and females may have crossed paths while following migrating prey. Younger sharks probably avoided the largest adults whenever possible, because large sharks could be dangerous even to members of their own species. This added another challenge to survival in ancient seas. The balance of prehistoric marine life depended on the availability of food, successful reproduction, healthy nursery areas, suitable water temperatures, and the continued survival of prey animals. Every predator formed part of this changing environment, where success depended on finding enough food while avoiding unnecessary injuries. Fossils continue to reveal evidence that these giant hunters lived in shared oceans filled with many other powerful marine predators, each following its own path through the ancient seas. The extinction of Megalodon marked the end of one of the most powerful hunters that ever lived in the world's oceans. For millions of years, this giant shark lived in warm seas across many parts of the planet. It hunted large marine animals and occupied an important place in the ocean food chain. Its huge body, powerful jaws, and strong teeth helped it survive through many changing conditions. Even with these strengths, Megalodon eventually disappeared from the oceans. Scientists have spent many years studying fossils, ancient rocks, and the remains of sea animals to understand why this giant shark could no longer survive. Although no one was present to witness the final years of Megalodon, the evidence left behind in the earth has helped researchers build a detailed picture of the events that slowly led to its extinction. The disappearance of Megalodon did not happen suddenly. It was a slow process that took place over a very long period of time. The oceans of the world were changing in many ways. The climate was becoming cooler in many regions, and these changes affected sea temperatures, ocean currents, and the places where marine animals could live. Many animals that had once lived comfortably in warm seas had to move to different areas or struggled to survive. Since Megalodon depended heavily on warm ocean waters, these environmental changes created serious problems for its way of life. As the Earth became cooler, the amount of warm water around the planet became smaller. Many coastal areas that had once provided good living conditions for young megalodons were affected. These shallow waters were important because they gave newborn sharks protection and easy access to food. Young megalodons needed safe places where they could grow before moving into deeper waters. As sea temperatures dropped, many of these nursery areas became less suitable. This made it harder for young sharks to survive during the earliest and most vulnerable part of their lives. The cooling climate also affected many of the marine mammals that Megalodon depended on for food. Large whales, seals, and other sea animals changed their migration routes as they searched for water temperatures that better suited their needs. Some species moved toward colder regions where Megalodon could not easily follow. Other species experienced population changes because of shifting ocean conditions. As these animals became less available in the warm waters where Megalodon hunted, finding enough food became increasingly difficult. Food was one of the most important needs for such a large predator. A giant shark with an enormous body required a great amount of energy every day. Hunting large prey demanded strength and endurance. When food became less common, Megalodon had to spend more time searching for prey. Longer hunts required more energy, creating an even greater need for food. This difficult cycle made survival increasingly challenging. Scientists believe that whales were among the most important food sources for Megalodon. During earlier periods, many whale species lived in warm coastal waters where they were easier to catch. Over time, many whales began spending more time in colder regions or changed their seasonal movements. These changes reduced the number of hunting opportunities available to Megalodon. Without a steady supply of large prey, maintaining its enormous body became more difficult. At the same time, the oceans were changing in many other ways. Ocean currents shifted as global temperatures changed. These currents played an important role in carrying nutrients through the seas. When currents changed, entire marine ecosystems were affected. Small sea creatures, fish, and larger animals all experienced changes in where they lived and how they found food. Since every level of the food chain depended on the levels below it, changes affecting smaller animals eventually reached the largest predators. The appearance and spread of new predators also placed pressure on Megalodon. During the later part of its existence, several marine hunters became more successful. Some species of sharks continued to evolve and spread into different environments. Early relatives of the modern great white shark became increasingly effective hunters. These sharks did not need as much food as Megalodon, because they were much smaller. Their smaller bodies allowed them to survive with fewer hunting successes. They could also hunt different kinds of prey, giving them greater flexibility when food supplies changed. Smaller predators often adapted more easily to changing environments. They matured faster, needed less energy, and could make use of a wider variety of food sources. Megalodon, because of its great size, depended heavily on large marine animals. If those animals became scarce, it could not easily switch to much smaller prey without using large amounts of energy during hunting. Another challenge came from the rise of powerful marine mammals that hunted in groups. Early killer whale relatives became increasingly successful hunters. Working together allowed these animals to catch prey efficiently. Group hunting also gave them protection against many dangers. Although adult megalodons were extremely powerful, younger individuals may have faced risks from coordinated attacks by groups of marine mammals. Competition for similar food sources increased as these hunters became more widespread. The growth of these new predators placed additional pressure on already limited food supplies. Every successful hunter in the ocean depended on finding enough prey to survive. As more predators shared the same environment, each one faced greater competition. Megalodon's dependence on large prey made it especially vulnerable during periods when food became harder to find. Changes in sea level also influenced the survival of many marine animals. Throughout Earth's history, sea levels have risen and fallen, many times because of natural climate changes. When sea levels dropped, some shallow coastal habitats disappeared. These coastal regions often served as important nursery grounds for young sharks. Losing these areas reduced the number of safe places where young megalodons could grow. Young megalodons probably faced many dangers even before environmental changes became severe. Smaller sharks are naturally more vulnerable than adults. They can become prey for larger marine animals and must compete for food with many other species. If nursery habitats became smaller or less suitable, survival rates for young sharks likely decreased. Fewer young sharks surviving each generation would gradually reduce the overall population. The reproductive cycle of Megalodon may also have contributed to its decline. Like many large sharks living today, Megalodon probably gave birth to a relatively small number of well-developed young, instead of producing huge numbers of tiny offspring. This strategy gave each newborn a better chance of survival under stable conditions. However, when environmental pressures increased, replacing lost adults became much more difficult. Population recovery became slower as fewer young reached adulthood.